What's going on, people? Georgio Savvides here, founder of the Hip Hop Orchestra, as well as the host of the Hip Hop Orchestra Presents podcast. And I got a really exciting announcement to finally make with everyone, is that we have our very first official sponsor for the podcast. Now, they are an amazing company called Eldon's Vault, who are extremely dedicated in bringing you the very best in officially licensed merchandise from pop culture. And when I mean the very best, I mean the very best. They provide things like keyrings, caps, t-shirts, to Funko Pops, to statues from all over, such as DC, Marvel, Disney, The Mandalorian, Harry Potter, music artists from all over the place, and they are ridiculously good. I've got a couple of things to show you on offer at the moment. This trust with their stuff is amazing. So, t-shirts, like I mentioned, like the one I'm wearing right now. It's got Rocky right here, which I absolutely love. Or, like I said, also got Funko Pops as well, 3.75 inches and 10 inches. I've got a couple of 10 inches right here for you. I've got Post Malone right here, and I've also got Biggie right here, who I absolutely love. These are so sick. Eldon's Vault, trust me, they are amazing. Now, I'm going to leave the link below in the video right here, and also in the description below as well in all future videos from the podcast. But trust me, Eldon's Vault are amazing. Website is www.eldonsvault.co.uk. Get in touch with them now and start buying ASAP. But also, before I forget as well, I just want to say the biggest thank you to Eldon's Vault for sponsoring the podcast. It means the absolute world to me. Thank you. And trust me, get in touch with them right now. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And peace. What's going on, people? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Hip Hop Orchestra. I'm joined by an amazing guest today, radio producer and journalist Kaya Aftab. How are you? Okay?
Hi, I'm okay. How are you?
Not too bad. Thank you so much for being a part of my podcast today. How's things? Okay?
Yeah, things are okay. Plodding along. What about yourself?
Yeah, busy as always, but I'm plodding along too, which is good. So I'm always happy, which is the main thing. But how's life been for you recently this past year? First thing I would have to ask people is how you've been so far. So for you, how you been this year? Especially
I
during the
mean,
lockdown period?
I think everybody's sort of feeling the same a little bit. I have to be honest, like I feel like this year has been such a whirlwind, and I know that sounds so cliche, but it genuinely has. And I think I mean, if you had said a year ago that I would be doing certain things or producing certain things, I would have just thought, well, like that doesn't make any sense. But like here we are, and I feel like this year, even though it doesn't feel like we've done a lot, like moving about and everything, I feel like for me personally and professionally, I've done a lot of different bits, which means that I've had to sort of move and from one place to another. So it's been very busy, and it has, and I'm fortunate that to be in a position where I have been busy.
Mm-hmm. Have you been working from home this whole time, or have you still going into the studio to work?
So I have been going into the studio. So I've been going to the studio since May. Yeah. So when this I was going into the studio when this first lockdown was imposed, and then I was producing, but it was sort of like you were alternating at the start, where they wanted everybody to have an opportunity where people could work from home and just to make sure that everybody was keeping safe. So you had this process where you had a buddy and you were switching with them going into the studio and stuff. And at the start of the lockdown, I was actually, I originally work on the Asian Network. I produced the late night chat show, but at the beginning of lockdown, I got asked to produce the One Extra Breakfast show.
Amazing.
Yeah, so it was amazing. It was a weird situation to work in, but so I mean, it was just something that I just rolled with it. I mean, I never worked on One Extra before. Obviously, I come from a journalism background, so it was a bit different. Yeah, and we in the early stages, I remember that I was in the studio and the presenter was at home, and I was driving her desk and everything, which felt really strange because like you're the presenter's hands, but the presenter's talking. So it was a really strange process to work in. But again, I mean, how many times can you say you've done that? And then going on to actually studio produce when the presenter came back. That was fun. And we did loads of things as part of, you know, keeping morale up. And I think in that moment, like having the radio there, it just made me realize how important it was for people. And it was a position of privilege, really, to be able to do that.
Of course it was. Was that the one-off show that you done, or did you do quite a few after that as well?
So I did it for about 4 months.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's
So I did it for about 4 months. So from May till, yeah. So then I came back to Asia Network because we came back because my show was on pause for a bit when the chat show, because we were late night, you know, just making sure that everybody was keeping safe and stuff. So we were off air for that duration, for a slight duration. So I came back in August when we went back into the studio for the first time with the late night chat show. So that's when I came back to produce on Asia Network.
Oh, amazing. How long has the chat show been going on for now?
So the show is called Group Chat.
I want to get into actually.
Pardon?
I wanted to get into that actually eventually, Group Chat. How long has that been going on for now?
No, it's called Group Chat, and it's so technically it's been going on for 2 years. Then we rebranded. I came on to the Asian Network about a year ago.
Okay.
A year and a half ago now, actually, in April 2019, and we sort of were in a position where we were sort of rebranding the show, so it wasn't called Group Chat when I came. So we developed Group Chat with the team and the presenters when I came on board, and this new format. So it was called Late Night Discussions with Mabeen Azhar. Obviously, we got a new presenter in as well, which meant we had to rebrand a little bit. And we're still currently going through this phase where every year we're jumping through new eras of the show, which is quite exciting because we constantly want to keep it fresh and current.
Of course. So what's the next steps for it now? Obviously, the whole year's changed everything for us, but what's the kind of next steps for the show?
So at the minute, so Group Chat, the show is basically a space for young British Asians to come on and talk about things that are important to them and issues that are important to them. One of the presenters labels it as rants, bants, and deep chats. Like that is probably the epitome of what it's about. And I think it's about creating a space, a group chat, technically, on air, where people can just be themselves, really. So what happens is every day we discuss a selection of topics or one particular topic that we feel, or our audience sometimes choose a topic that's important to them and an issue that's important to them. So for example, we talked about this week cancel culture, and we also talked about I'm just trying to think because you do so many, you know, I forgot what Wednesday show was about. I can't remember now, but I'm trying to think, and I can't. Oh yeah, we talked about the hijab, the headscarf, and people's relationship with that. So what it is essentially young people coming on and talking about an issue that's important to them. We also play lots of great music, which is good, and it's sort of something that can ease people into their bedtime, into their night, with some music, some chat, and just some fun as well. And sometimes it does get really deep because sometimes it does get really deep. You know, we have people who express themselves and say they express themselves in a way that they can't even express themselves to their friends and family. So conversations they've never had before with anybody else, they have with us. So it's a real privilege again to be able to do that.
Of course, let's get into that actually as well. I wanted to ask you actually what kind of subjects you found, sort of, if you found any subjects quite difficult to talk about. So, and you sort of mentioned hijab there from cancel culture as well. What kind of subjects have you found quite difficult to talk about, if there have been any?
I mean, there's been so much. I mean, I remember, and this is there's a couple of standout shows that the team put together, because I have a team of 2 assistant producers as well, and they're amazing. And I remember one of the members of the team was working on a show called Dealing with Trauma, and we had this lady on who a horrific story, and we had, you know, really sensitive. First time she's ever spoken to it. She got offers to go and speak about it on This Morning and other that, but she didn't want to because we enabled a space where she felt that she could just be able to tell her story her way. and that's the whole point. And it was basically about how she was in a situation where her husband was attacking her and her family, and as a result of that, developed post-traumatic stress disorder, and was quite emotional, and obviously that is a quite tricky situation to deal with. You know, we did a show about growing up in care as well, which is obviously another standout moment, because I mean, again, these issues aren't talked about in the Asian community as openly. So when we had the contributor on, again, somebody of high social media profile in a way, and never spoken about it before, so first time coming on to talk about it, obviously emotions are high because you're letting everything off your chest a bit. You know, we did a show about bereavement in COVID, and got a guy on to talk about what it was like sitting by his dad's bedside table in the hospital. And, you know, again, the courage that he showed to be able to tell that story in such a raw moment, and so suddenly as well. But being able to have those conversations, and, you know, they can be tricky, but I think it's also like a real, to be in that moment, you just get really absorbed, and it's sort of like, you know, you feel like you're doing a service to those people because you're letting them share their story, essentially.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about the podcast as well, actually, where we talk about things where people might not feel too comfortable spreading the news to their friends or family, but it comes to the podcast, you talk about those problems, and it feels so much better afterwards. It's like therapy in a way, isn't it?
It is, in a way. And I
Yeah.
think what's so strange is that it's so nice, because after the show, it's like you can feel that there's a sense of relief because they've said everything they needed to say, and that's the best feeling ever.
It is. I mean, before the show, obviously we mentioned journalism as well. Did you have any kind of pre-warnings or pre-training before this, just to make sure that you're able to kind of help these people out in certain situations that might be a bit sort of upfront, maybe?
So, I mean, the BBC are really great at obviously providing support and stuff, and
Yeah.
you know, we have measures in place, and obviously management and everybody is always on board to help with tricky situations and stuff like that. So you're always supported, which is really, really great. I mean, I did an English and journalism degree at university, so I studied journalism and the practices that go about when, you know, covering a story, or, you know, writing an article, those type of things. And then obviously straight after university, I worked in 5 Live, and that environment is such a great learning space because you're in this busy news room and you've got so many different people working on so many different stories, and some of them are really intense, some of them are really light, and just, you know, I started off as a phone answer, and then I worked up and was a social media person, making videos and stuff. So you just absorb that as well a little bit, and see those practices put into place. And a place like that is such a great space to learn. And then, you know, I went on to do a bit of freelance work at BBC Radio Leeds, again producing shows, again that building up that experience where you're dealing with so many different situations. And coming on to this show, yeah, I mean, it's a different layering entirely, but, you know, you have 2 qualified presenters who are journalists.
Okay.
As well. So you have a team who are also skilled and equipped for that, and then you have an editor as well. So it's all a team effort. And if, you know, you've got that support from higher up, like I said, if these situations are tricky to manage, you know, when we do these deep chats, I won't say we do it 4 nights a week, but we do delve into them occasionally, where we can have that really raw space to talk about issues that we'd feel like aren't spoken about.
And you mentioned it, well, fortnightly, you just said there that each episode is.
It's not so we do like Monday to Thursday is a range of topics. So like if I was to give you a template, like we have this thing on Monday called Views in the News, which is a panel show. Tuesday and Wednesday is sort of like one singular topic. So I'll tease next week. So next week we have, you know, on Tuesday we're talking about ghosting. It's quite light, but it's quite interesting because it's conversations which we're having. On Wednesday we're talking about inspirational stories of people who made it onto the Queen's Honours List.
Wow.
And on Thursday it's the Call Out, which is our first social action programme, which deals to help listener dilemmas and problems, and we're doing it on the imposter syndrome and speaking about that.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's very different, like, but it essentially is what your group chat would be, moving from one conversation to another.
Yeah, it sounds like you've got so much going on at the moment. How do you kind of deal with that being kind of that kind of overwhelming workload?
It's you know what, it's like I said, like, it's a team effort. I have a full team. The presenters are also great. I have an editor, so it's all about pulling together. And we're in a position where we're able to work in advance, and we try and work in advance as much as possible. With any of these shows, and like your podcast, planning is key
Yeah, yeah.
to these, and creating a system that works for everybody.
Hmm.
And we have such a great, there's such a great amount of people that are online, social media, that are perfect for a topic, and they sometimes are the inspiration behind some of our ideas.
Hmm.
So it's always nice to have that as well.
Oh, that's brilliant. And I want to ask you actually about that kind of planning period that you have for each thing that you work on. On average, how long do you get the chance to work on, like, to plan on something?
It's entirely like, if I had an idea and I thought, oh, it needs a couple of weeks working, I'll just put it in the diary for
Mhm.
how much time I need to work on it.
Okay.
It's not like you're rushing to get things done, in a sense. It's more sort of a case that so for example, our shows now, I mean, they probably were in the plan a month ago, because we feel like, or sometimes we can be reactionary, or we can be reacted to what's going on in the world, so we can move things about. It's very fluid. It's very it's just very much going with the flow, and also feeling what's going on in the world at the minute as well, and making sure that you're in line and in tune with what other people's conversations are. So the system is loose, but in a way planned. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It does. It does. I also have to say before I forget as well, actually, a huge, I can't say it properly. Congratulations on your Radio Academy under 30, which is
Oh, thank
amazing
you.
news. How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, like, I think to be on that list is such a lovely feeling. And it's just a privilege. Like, again, I know I keep using it, but it is an absolute privilege, and to be recognised among so many talented people, and your industry was amazing. But I mean, so many great people made it onto that list. So I mean, congrats to everybody, I guess.
For sure. 'Cause I know a friend of mine, Kaylee Golding, had also made the list as well, who's also into radio as well. But
Yes, yes, I saw that.
yeah, and how does it actually work though? Do you kind of put yourself forward, or do other people put you forward for your work, or does work get around? How does it kind of work in terms of getting onto the top 30?
I think it was suggested to me.
Uh,
It was suggested to me, and at the time I had editors who were really supportive, and like, when you work behind the scenes, I think people are constantly pushing you to be better, and and to get the recognition that they feel that you deserve. So I had some great editors who backed me, and wanted to put me forward, and I guess it's a lovely thing to be put forward for.
mm.
So I mean, you just go for it. And I think again, I know it's an incredibly competitive list to get on, so you if you don't do it, then you never know, right?
Yeah, of course. But congratulations again, though. It's fully deserved. I see the work that you do. It's unbelievable. So very well done.
Thank you.
A pleasure. But I like to take it back as well, actually, and talk about what got you into journalism. So you said you went to university for it as well. Even before that, did you always have a kind of interest in journalism? Or do you
Yeah,
kind of
so
fall in?
I
Yeah.
think, as far as I can remember, really, I think I wanted to be a journalist from like the age of 15 or something.
Oh, wow.
I think the reason why, I love writing. I loved like I loved just knowing about things, and knowing about a bunch of um, different things. And I always was the person that I just didn't want to do one thing.
Hmm.
I wanted to do multiple things and be able to, I remember having 3 career options at one point, and I just liked the fluidity of having options. And I
Hmm.
guess with this career, you do have options, because you can go into radio, print, and TV, and you can move through different avenues and stuff. And also, like I've just said, no day is the same. And I know everybody says that, but no day is really the same, because every day, for example, on this show, you're doing a different topic every day.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's a different feel, it's a different vibe. Um, then, and the opportunity to then, at the beginning of lockdown, to go to Radio 1 Extra, again, it's different. You're not stuck in a routine or rhythm that seems boring or doesn't keep you on your toes. So that's where I wanted to pursue it from, really.
That's fantastic, though. And when it comes to journalism, how does it work in terms of putting the story out there? Is there like a huge amount of research that goes into it, then putting the word out there, or how does it work in terms of journalism?
Yeah, I think with any sort of story, any idea that you have, it requires work and thought, and
Mm,
being able to know how the story is mapped. And uh, what's great about this industry, you can always ask for help as well, in terms of if you're not sure about how a particular program is put together, or how a particular story, or who you should be speaking to. There's always support on hand. So a story isn't as straightforward as just speaking to one person and that story is done. It's sort of looking at the whole picture of how the story comes into together,
hmm
and thinking about who makes this story, and who are the type of people you need to speak to, um, how are you going to do it, which form you're going to do it, and you can always talk that through with somebody if you need.
Mm. Have there been any kind of particular stories that you've worked on that you've been really proud of to showcase to people?
Yeah, I mean, I did back in 2018. I pitched a documentary idea to BBC Newsbeat for iPlayer. It was an original idea which got commissioned and made into a documentary.
Wow.
And it was featured on my twin sister, and the story came to because I read an article. Can't remember the article, but the article was inspiration for the idea, basically. And mm, it was a story about the condition called neurofibromatosis,
I know that, yeah. I saw you on Instagram, actually, yeah.
which is
Yeah.
you've been doing the stalking on
No, no,
Instagram.
no, no, the research, but I can't. But yeah, let's start exciting topic. Go on.
So it's called neurofibromatosis and can be known as NF1 or NF2. And both types of the condition are very different. So neurofibromatosis is where most people have benign tumors which grow in the nerves
hmm
of their skin, which can be internal and external, and can be quite fatal in some circumstances, but can be quite mild in other circumstances. And these benign tumors can be anywhere in the body. The thing with this condition is it affects everyone so differently.
hmm
But it's such a common condition, and I actually read, and I have to fact check this, but it's actually more common than like cerebral palsy and
Mm.
these conditions, which are quite well known. But the thing with neurofibromatosis is a lack of understanding and awareness around it. So at the time, my sister was this oversized menswear blogger, and she used to wear these fits, and she loves fashion. She works in the fashion industry, and she was sort of modeling these clothes on her Instagram and stuff. And I understood why she was wearing oversized fits, is because she has a plexiform tumor, which is on the left side of her hip. Um, and I was just thinking one day, and I thought, you know what, like it would be great, because I know how much the condition affects her. It would be great to raise awareness about this condition, also just know how somebody lives with it, because I've never heard the story. The only story I've heard about this is Adam Pearson.
hmm
I don't know if you've come across him,
I have, yeah.
but he's the one with the facial, which has NF on his face. But I never heard it from sort of a young person. I mean, my sister has never met anybody like her as
hmm
well. So I wanted her to meet somebody who had it as well. So I just suggested that, oh, wait, I think, what if we do a documentary about you with this condition, and you essentially unveiling it to your followers, that this
hmm
is what you have, and this is how you live your day, and this is the reason for your inspiration to start this oversized menswear fashion page.
hmm
I mean, this was nothing. I mean, the idea came from nothing. I didn't even expect it to get commissioned, but it was an idea that I wanted to put forward because, it was an interesting thing to talk about. And at first she was sort of like, no, not doing it. Don't care what the idea is. Not going to do it. And then I thought, okay, fine. Because I don't want to be in a position where, I want to feel pressured for her to do it, or that if she doesn't want to do something, she doesn't want to do something. So and then we had a couple of conversations, and I said, I feel like this is, you could be inspiring people, because you inspire me, and I'm inspired by how you go day in, day out about your life. And I'm, your twin sister. Obviously, I'm going to emphasize with you in certain ways, but I genuinely think that there'll be other people like you in this situation who don't know how to come forward about it, and don't know who to speak to or where to go. So I had this meeting with some of the editors, and I said, oh, I've got this idea. I got a phone call the next day saying they loved the idea, and I got a message, not a phone call, saying they loved the idea and they'd love to commission it. It was a long process to actually when it got made, but I worked with the Newsbeat team and a couple of producers and a cameraman on it, and we sequenced the piece, and it went out on BBC iPlayer. I think it got 1 million hits in like its first couple of days, or it did really well, and she's done really well off the back of it actually, which wasn't anticipated, but she did get a lot of good responses from people who had the condition.
Really?
Yeah, like she was in, I mean, I remember, and I just reflected back, you know, when she was sharing it to her followers, I filmed that thing by myself.
Really?
And oh my gosh, I could just, the tension in that room, because she was so scared to do it. And because I was filming it, it was a weird situation, because I felt like I have to detach myself a little bit from the emotional aspect of this. And, you know, because this is a documentary, and, you know, we have to get it done. I just sort of, in that room, you just got to let her have her moment. And then in the end, when it went live on her Instagram, it sort of just catapulted.
Oh, that's amazing. And how is she feeling now after the win out? Does she feel a lot more at ease to talk about her condition?
Yeah, 100%. I think, you know, she does a variety of like panel talks. I think there's a bit more confidence as well. And I think it's sort of inspired her to make it a mission to empower people with NF and raise awareness on the condition.
That's brilliant. I'm so glad she's doing okay now as well. And how about yourself? That you being a twin sister as well? I mean, did you obviously have to get checked up as well that your life, just in case?
Yeah, I did actually.
Yeah.
We did because my mother has neurofibromatosis.
Oh wow.
So and I did get checked. We were constantly like checked and stuff. But I was never diagnosed with it. So and I don't have it. So it's only my mum and my twin sister, and I have a younger sister who is also diagnosed with NF as well. So
really,
so I feel like I feel like I'm the lucky one in a way. But again, we're quite fortunate as it's not fatal and it's not too extreme. So
thank God for that.
They have it on the lighter side of, I put that in quotation mark, lighter side of the spectrum.
And you said she got a lot of work off the back of that. How about yourself? Have you got any more offers to do further documentaries on further subjects?
I think like with this industry, it's not even, it's the case of whether or not you have the ideas and stuff. And I think because I've been so busy doing other things, I'd love to do more documentary idea stuff. Again, in doing this job and essentially, you know, producing these shows and topics, in a weird way, it's kind of like doing 4 documentaries a week, but not in that intense environment. But you're doing 4 different topics. But yeah, no, I would love to do some. I have some ideas, but it's just about putting them on paper. So,
of course,
is it any kind of the time to do that? You know how day life is. But I would definitely love to do it. I'd definitely love to do more work like that.
That'd be amazing. I mean, what kind of ideas keep coming back into your mind that you love to work on in the future? You must have like a couple of ideas that keep popping back into your head.
Yeah, there's so many. Like I can't, like, if I look back on the year and a half, there's just so many topics that we have done that could have been developed into a documentary. I honestly, at the top of my head, I can't really say one. There is a particular one that I have in my head, but it's about a particular case study, and I don't want to disclose that. It's their story. And that's what the type of stuff I like to do, is just speak to real life people about their experiences, and that storytelling aspect of just someone's life is something that I like to do, and I like to share, and I like to showcase, really. So it's more documentaries based around that type of stuff.
Brilliant. What kind of documentaries do you like to get into, like that you enjoy watching? Have there been any kind of particular ones that you've kind of studied yourself and thinking, I want to make a documentary kind of in this style?
Yeah, there was this, I spoke about this with one of my presenters. She recommended it. There was a documentary I watched which is called Because We Are Girls.
I've heard about this one.
and it was really, really good. And I just remember watching it, and it just felt like you were just, it felt like it was so informal in the way it was filmed, in a sense, and they used like stills from Bollywood films to sort of help tell the story of these three women who are sisters, who had love for Bollywood, who wanted to get married to their knight in shining armor, like portrayed in these Bollywood films. And their story took a different turn. I think there was a particular scene which you could feel the tension in that room. I don't know if you watched it, but it was sort of like the cameraman and this exchange build up. It was such an intense filming scene, but it felt like it was really organic, and it was the first time these people were having this conversation. So just to be involved in stuff like that, where you are part of the experience as much as sharing the experience, does that make sense?
It does, yeah, it makes complete sense. And kind of in your journey so far, have you had any kind of mentors to help you, guide you in the right sort of way?
Yeah, I mean, I've got so many people to thank, for showing me what's right, what's wrong, what the right way to go about this is, and just learning from them, and just watching them in the space. I've got my editor at Five Live, who was Tim Lavelle. I learned a lot from him. I learned a lot from my managers at Radio Leeds, called Shahid. My editor when I joined the Edge Network, Rob Littlejohn, was great.
I love Rob Littlejohn.
Well.
I love Rob Littlejohn. Yeah,
he was great. And honestly, like, he was like, I still treat him as a bit of a mentor, even though he's not with the BBC anymore. He's still a mentor to me. And currently my editor, Kate Holder, who's a Radio 1 editor, she's great as well. So there's so many people. Those people are the people that I know that if I ever need anything, if I was in where I was unsure about something, that I could go to them and be like, this is what I need your help on. And they're honestly the nicest people as well.
They really are. Cause I know Rob Littlejohn for years. Actually, he's like a brother to me. I actually did an episode with him a little while ago, actually.
Oh, really? I'm gonna have to listen to. I love Rob so much. He's
Same here.
The nicest guy ever.
He really is a nice guy. I've known him for about 8 years now. I actually met him years ago at the Jump Off Battles, actually, when I was into production and stuff. And he's one of the judges there. And like you said, he's the nicest guy ever. I've said that to everyone that I've met, like Rob Littlejohn is literally the nicest guy ever. He always gives me advice whenever I need him as well. I should have texted him today, actually, see how he's getting on. Because I know he got a new job recently, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And do you know what? Like, I actually remember when I was going for this job, Rob was in my interview.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. So he's actually seen it from the start to like right now. So like, and he was essentially, he's the reason why I'm probably here today. So I've got a lot of time for Rob, and I've got to owe him a lot. So yeah, I'm gonna have to listen back to that one. I'd love to. I can't imagine Rob on a podcast, but I have to listen back.
You know what it is with podcasts? It's so funny because obviously most people will say yes immediately to doing one. Him being one of them, actually. But you get a few people that say, I've never done podcasts before. I don't know how I sound, and I hate my own voice. But once you get into it, it's so much fun. And I've done podcasts where they've gone for like almost 2 hours, 2.5 hours. It feels like 10 minutes has gone by. It just flows so nicely. But that's today's still one of my favorite episodes that I've done to this day, actually.
Oh, I bet you say that to everybody.
He's just he's like a brother to me. Like, I've learned so much from him. He just flows so nicely. What we spoke about music, our backgrounds, and it's just incredible. Really, really incredible.
Yeah. No, well, I completely get it, because when you're part of the production, you're not really used to doing it. Like for me, when I got asked, I was a bit like, I was a bit unsure, because I was like, even though I like talking and stuff, because you're not used to doing it, it seems a bit strange to be part of it. But I can guarantee you, I imagine Rob's episode to be really, really good. So I'm definitely going to have to listen back to that.
I send you a link after this, actually. It's really good.
Was it 2.5 hours then?
That was, I think, about an hour or so, that one, off the top of my head. But I'll send you the link, so if you get time, so you can listen to it back as well. I've also got videos and clips of it as well. I like to take clips of each episode, just in case you don't have the time to watch like a whole episode. You can listen to at least a couple of the clips from the episodes. But it's really, really good. But like I said, some episodes can literally go on forever. I spoke to a good friend of mine, Aftab, who works in music education. She's the director as well. She's got a big following, and it was one of those episodes we could have spoken literally for God knows how long, but we stopped at a good time. But I know how you feel that some people, like you said, like when you're kind of used to production side of things, you're not kind of used to actually doing that the talking thing, are you? When they come and put on you, it's a bit uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah, no, because it's like, is this what I'm meant to be doing? It doesn't
Yeah.
feel like what I'm meant to be. Even though it's nice to do it, it feels. I know what you mean. It's sort of like, you want to speak to me? Are you sure
Yeah.
you don't want to?
It's
It's
true
sort of
though.
that thing.
With my podcast as well, I like just for them to be just free flowing and not so rigid and tight like some podcasts are. Yeah,
Yeah,
I also had my question to ask you, but at the same time, I realize that when they're more free flowing, the real person comes out, and
no,
it's just a nice conversation to have, really. And they're the ones that work the best, I feel. If they're very kind of strict and tight, it's like you must answer this question and that one, it doesn't come off as natural. But as a natural conversation, you learn more as well, and it's just an easier thing to listen to.
yeah. I mean, what? So how long have you been doing this podcast for?
So since January, actually, I've spoken to a good 30 plus people on the podcast so far, at least
Right.
30 to 40 people. Um, and when I first started doing it, I'm a very, might not seem like it, but I'm a very introverted person. And I found talking very hard before. Me being a teacher as well, I'm used to talking to people. But when I had like a one-to-one conversation with people, I used to find it quite hard to do. But since
Right.
starting a podcast, it's just my confidence has gone through the roof now. I'm still able to keep the conversation flowing now. I feel like
Yeah.
it's helped my social skills big time now. And like I said earlier about the kind of therapy thing now, it's helped me overcome a few bits as well about this kind of that kind of social anxiety.
Right.
And when people say like, "Oh, you're a really good interviewer," like, "Am I really me? Really? I didn't realize." Like, yeah, I think they come off that really natural, and you make people comfortable as well.
Yeah. No. Well, I agree 100%. And like, I know it may not seem like it, but I mean that, like, I feel like when I first came in, I was really quiet, and I felt like really shy, and I know that doesn't come across when I speak to you like this, but I
Yeah.
am when I'm fine. I think I am a confident person with time. I
Hmm.
think, I think it's about building it up. But I think on first like interactions or first meetings or first jobs and stuff, I do get really shy, and I can be quite a shy person. But then when I'm fine and comfortable, I'm confident. In most
Yeah.
scenarios, I feel like I'm just shy internally, like I feel, but externally it's like a different, like I feel like I'm very good at just coming across quite level-headed and composed, but
Yeah.
in my mind I'm thinking I'm a bit like nervous here, or I'm a bit shy or a bit intimidated, but I just try not to show it. So and people always go, you were shy. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
no, I felt a bit shy in that moment.
Yeah, it's like with me as well. Exactly the same with me actually, because people think you're shy, but you come off so confident though. I mean, like yourself, I am confident within the right time, but I've just learned as well just to not. I think what a lot of people get scared about is that kind of pressure from other people to try and please other people. I think,
Right.
and when you got that kind of social pressure, thinking I've got to make him happy or her happy, but I've learned to just not care really and just be myself. And once I became myself, then I became even more confident, and I've attracted to kind of the right people as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, this podcast has really helped me. But sorry, I interrupted you there. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like, it feels like you're probably the most confident that you've been now,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I feel like I can relate to that. I feel like this is the most confident I've ever felt within myself.
yeah. It's brilliant. Has
But like, I mean, I wouldn't say like I'm there, but it's a build to what it was a couple of years ago. I definitely think that it's progressed.
mm, and going back to the kind of mentor thing, actually, did like Rob and a few other people, has anyone kind of not forced you, but kind of encouraged you to kind of overcome that kind of social anxiety that you might have had beforehand?
The thing with me, I wouldn't label it as social anxiety for me. I think, I think with me, it was more so the case that took me just a little bit longer to open up to people, where
Mm,
it's not an instant thing. Where I can open up, but I think it's a progress like process with me. It's not like overnight thing. Oh yay, we're friends. I'm good.
Yeah.
It's more like, you know, building that trust with that somebody. And I have such a great group of friends. I honestly have such a great group of friends, and everybody, touch wood, that I get on with really well. So I'm quite fortunate to be in that position. But you know, I think, and I this might be going off tangent, but I think the phase where I felt like it was different, it's because when I because I'm a twin, I was so used to being with somebody all the time. And because when I went to university, I sort of had to find out, okay, who am I without being a twin? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
What type of person am I? And when I went to university, I had a great group of friends and flatmates who really made me come into my own, I think, and made me know the type of person that I was. And I remember they saying, "Oh gosh, you were so shy and so timid when you first joined, but by the end of it, I was a completely different person." But I do think that played like a massive factor, because we essentially, before university, we spent every single time we went in like same classes, we went to the same school. I went home with her. We went to school together. I spent, 18 years side by side with one person, and then you're meant to go on your own and do something different, which is a weird process.
It must have been like, what was that kind of, in a way, like a shock to the system, where you're finally away from your, not finally away, but it's like your first time away from a twin sister. Like you're thinking, okay, like you said, who am I away from my sister? Was it kind of like a shock to the system for you?
It was, but do you know what? We're both so ready for it, because I think we were both so. I mean, I think we just wanted to be our own person, because we were always, called twins, or we were always called, the girls, or we didn't come as separates. We came as Aruj and Kaya. Like that's how we came. So no, we didn't come as separates before. And I think I remember thinking, oh yes, I get to go. When I went to university, she stayed in Bradford for a year. I went to study in Manchester, and I remember, yes, I'm so ready. Like I can now just like be somebody without just being a twin, and I can just, and I can be by myself. Even though I love being a twin, I think it was needed, because I think you can drive yourself a bit insane when you're constantly with somebody. And we were getting to a point where our personalities were coming out more and more. We were different, and we knew we were different in personality. We weren't the same, and a lot of people assume, oh, you must be so similar, but we weren't. We don't have similar personality. We're not the same. We may like similar things, but we don't have similar interests. And that only came properly into fruition when we moved away from one another. I think my mom was over the moon, because she was like, I really want you guys to find out who you are by yourselves. It's so cliche. I went to university to find myself, but it was the case.
No, it's not cliche at all. Not at all. I mean, I wanted to ask you actually about being a twin, and what kind of things you found difficult about being a twin. Like you said, was it like the people like assuming certain things, like you're both exactly the same, or you look the same, or you're exact same person? What kind of were the kind of struggles you had to go through about being a twin, if there were any?
The best thing is that we're non-identical. Because because I think if we were identical, then yes, we would be constantly like thinking we're the same person. You know what? Being a twin was really, really good. Like I can't even deny it, because you always had a friend. If you had no friends, you always had a friend, and you still have a friend. Like even to this day, if I don't have plans, I know that I'm not going to be alone, because I have a twin sister who I can call up and do stuff with. So amazing. It's always nice to know that you have somebody there, and we and the thing is, you always have one another's backs. And I live with her. We live together now in London. So we live together in London. I don't have to have the hassle of finding these are just practical things, but a housemate, because we're both here and stuff. Then the hardest things about being a twin, I think, like I said, when you're younger, you're often, I think with us, we were very different as well, even at school and stuff. And because we didn't even like the same subjects or perform similar in things, I think it was weird, because I think everybody assumed just to do the same. And I think when one of us were doing something a bit different and another one of us were doing a bit different, there were moments, very slight moments, where we got compared a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was strange, because she was really artistic and creative, and I went more down the academic route.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so it was different, and I think that was quite weird, because we realized we weren't doing the same thing, and then we were still getting compared to a certain level and extent.
Mm-hmm.
And again, when we grew up a bit older, and friendship groups, I had my own friendship group and she had her own friendship group, but we always, our friendship groups combined as one, so we were never even part of separate friendship groups.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even to this day, like sometimes we still have same friends. So our school friends were all the same.
Oh, really?
So we didn't have separate friendship groups. Which we like, this is what I mean when you spend so much time with somebody. I sat with her on my break, and we sat with one another, but I guess it just felt right. It felt normal to do, and we enjoyed it, and we had the same friends, and that was fine. But again, it was like, this is our friend. It's weird because it's not my friend. This is our friend. Does that make sense? But it's nice to do that. Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. That's so good. And you're so tight. It's tight still. You live together as well. So that's lovely. It's really nice to hear. And how different you are as well, in terms of personality as well. Like she's a creative while you're more academic. It's curious how siblings, even when they're twins, could be so different as well. It's like me and my brother. I've got one older brother, and we're so different. It's ridiculous. I mean, we've got a lot of similarities, obviously, but we look different. We sound different. No one knows we're brothers. I mean, obviously, you must look like your siblings, obviously your sisters, but with me and my brother, I mean, he's tan, he's got a skinhead, he's massive, got tattoos. Thinking, what? You two are brothers? What the hell, man? Like, but it happens, doesn't it?
Oh my gosh, I completely relate. I'm taller than her.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm taller than her. So she's about 5'5", I'm 5'7".
Okay.
We have different complexions.
Mm-hmm.
I have dead straight hair. She had this curly hair. And it's like, people look at her and think, you're twins. Like, you don't even look like sisters. How can you be twins? And it's just so weird. So I guess that's a good thing, because I mean, I don't know what it's like to be an identical twin, but I don't think I would like to be an identical twin.
I've known a few identical twins in my life, and I wouldn't know what it's like to be a twin either way, so I'm not sure, but I know exactly what you mean about the whole sort of situation as well. So I'm really glad that you're really close and live together still. That's brilliant.
Yeah, that's good.
It really is. And one kind of quick question as well, actually, before we finish, actually, is I always love to find out kind of the best lessons that you've learned in your journey so far, through your work and so forth. So for you, what have been some of the best lessons that you picked up on?
I think the best lessons, I mean, that's you put me on the spot there.
I'm sorry.
The best lessons I would say are that I think everybody does this, but I think, like, I've been in the position where don't doubt yourself and don't doubt what feels right in your gut. And if something doesn't feel right, it's not meant to be. And I think just allowing the process and living through that, and trying not to get too disheartened if something doesn't work out, because it wasn't meant to be, and there's a different way to go about it. I think one thing that I really like that somebody always said to me is that we're living in a world where it's constantly so fast paced, and I think especially in production, you're constantly working, and you feel like because you're behind the scenes, you're not achieving as much, or you're not doing as much. And I think what I would say is that you don't necessarily need to be in front of the camera or in front of something to be successful at something.
I love that. It's so true. And talk about that kind of fast pace, actually. I don't want to keep you too long because you've got a really busy day.
No, it's fine.
Going from, you said you grew up in Bradford, and then you moved to Manchester for university, now you're in London now. How different was it going from Bradford to London? Was it like a complete different transition for you?
Yeah, I mean, I wish somebody, like, everybody was like, oh, you'll be fine. Like, oh, I mean, I lived in Manchester, and Manchester was different because I went there for university, and then I lived a little bit after, but I knew the space. I'd spent like 4 years there. And it wasn't it was busy, but like Bradford is busy, but not to the extent that Bradford is busy. When I came to London, honestly, I felt like such a small person in such a big space.
Mm-hmm.
I was so confused. I couldn't. I for one, I didn't realize how big it was. I'd been to London, but London was always this place that you'd go for like a weekend break, or
Yeah.
you'd go see some family and stuff. To live there was, I felt like I remember it was so funny. I was just casually walking down the escalators, and I was with a friend, and goes, "You can't walk like that here. You need to be. Why are you being so slow? Just come." I said, "What is the rush? What is the rush with people here?" Like, and he went to me, "You just need to, like, you're walking too slow and you're faffing around." I said, "Yeah, because it's fine." And I went to a couple of flat showings, and I was like, "Yeah, it'll be fine," because I was quite like, in the north, we're more chilled out, we're more relaxed, we're more like, yeah, what will be. So when I went to go see a couple of flat viewings, I was like, yeah, that's fine, I'll get back to you. And my friend said, "You can't just say I'll get back, like, you need to be on it with these places. You can't be chilled." And I was like, I don't understand this mad obsession with rushing things. What is it? And I lost all those flat viewings because I took so long to decide whether or not I wanted to be there. It was a weird, I enjoyed it because I think I realized that this is such a different environment to what I'm used to. I didn't know anybody when, like, I had some family in the outskirts and stuff, but in terms of friends and stuff, I didn't know many people in London. Like, it was sort of like starting from scratch again. That's what I felt like. I had my friendship group in Manchester and Bradford, and had them there, and to leave that, it was sort of like, well, now I don't have any friends. Well, I did have friends, but I don't know anybody. Like, where's like my friendship group? Where's my go-to people? I didn't have that. So that was weird. But slowly, and I kept saying that it's like you're starting school again in a way, that you've got to make friends.
It is. It's like exactly like that. Yeah. I mean, did that kind of change your kind of overall work ethic as well, in terms of going from more relaxed, say, to being more fast paced when you moved here?
No, because I think that's the one thing I like. I think I'm still chilled out to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Of course, everybody gets stressed out and stuff, but I think I still apply that chilled out aspect to my work. I'm not in the sense that I'm more lenient, but I think nobody can work in an environment that's super stressful. I think, and I don't. That's the last thing that, sometimes it's, yes, we have to deliver things and we can work in a way that we do that, but to work in an intense environment where you're applying pressure, where you're thinking you rush. I think if you're rushing things, you're never going to be able to do it to the best of your ability.
It's
so
true.
I've applied that to the work.
Oh, brilliant. But look at that, like, your work has been incredible, and I'm really proud of everything that you're doing. So keep up the amazing work. And
no, thank you so much for having me. Honestly, it's been so lovely to speak to you and get to know you, because I think this is the first time we're properly meeting, right?
it is, yeah. And it's been one of the things as well where, especially it's been so lovely to talk to you, by the way, as well. Really lovely. I realised as well that I've known a lot of people for so long now, yet haven't had the proper chance to actually just meet them or properly chat to them. And since being onto the podcast, you can really get the chance to just meet them and sit down and just talk. It's been lovely. That's another good thing about this podcast. We finally get to just properly chat with people and just get to know them properly as well, and see what they're up to, how they're getting on with life, and just to kind of just chat, really. And it's lovely because, like you said, London is such a fast-paced place to live and work in, where people don't always get the chance to have a proper just chat. And since lockdown as well, and the madness that's going around the world right now, it's just nice just to see how everyone's getting on as well. And people always think of me after this, thinking, like, you know what, just thank you for actually just sitting down with me and just talking or listening, because people don't do that as much anymore, do they? It's just
this is the same conversation. I know that we're in a pandemic, but it does feel nice to just catch up with somebody new and find out about yourself and stuff. And it's a shame that it has to be over a computer screen.
Yeah,
but,
I know it is.
But I mean, once this all blows over, and which it will hopefully, we'll hopefully have to get a coffee and meet up.
I'd love to, really love to. And can I want to thank you one more time? Thank you so much for an amazing episode. So love to catch up with you, and best luck with everything in the future.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Take
Take
care.
care. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.